Hi, this is Ophoria, the digital reader. I started this channel back in January of 2024, mostly as kind of a reading diary, a place to talk about what I enjoy about being a digital reader and the books I'm reading. At the time, nobody in my immediate family was really a serious reader, so this channel was just my outlet to talk about books. The funny thing is, since I started the channel, both my brother-in-law and my niece have become serious readers themselves. Mostly out of curiosity, they asked about the channel, what I was reading, and just one thing led to another. That's been a really pleasant surprise. When I started, I honestly didn't think I'd have enough to talk about. And now, almost 200 videos later, it turns out I definitely do. Every year about this time, I like to go over my reading stats from the previous year. I love gadgets and I love numbers, and one of the unexpected joys of getting back into reading has been tracking my reading. I like knowing how many pages I read per hour, how many hours I read per week, per day, all of it. Those stats don't really change how I read. I don't read faster or slower because of them. I just like knowing them. So, looking back at 2025. In 2025, I read 52 books. I'm not going to go into a deep comparison between 2025 and 2024. If you're curious about that, you can check out my 2024 reading wrap-up. I've linked it in the description. But briefly, I read 54 books in 2024 and 52 books in 2025, so slightly fewer books in 2025. My average reading speed also dropped from about 42 pages per hour in 2024 to 37.4 pages per hour in 2025. I mostly attribute that to the fact that in 2025, I was constantly switching between different e-readers for battery tests and reviews. In 2024, I mainly stuck with my favorites, the Pocketbook InkPad 3 and the Pocketbook Verse Pro Color, and I think being so comfortable on those devices helped my reading speed. That said, it's just a stat. I read to be a reader, not to hit a certain speed. My reading goal every year is 24 books, and I don't plan on raising it. The goal is simply to always be reading, not to rush through shorter books just to hit a number. If I pass 24, great, and I usually do. And now for the rest of the stats. The average books I read per month were 4.3. I read 15,990 pages in 2025. The month with the most pages read was March, where I read 1,297 pages. The total time I spent reading in 2025 was 358 hours. My longest book was The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo at 658 pages. My longest reading streak was 14 days straight from March 18th to April the 1st. And my average book length was 307 pages. And as for ratings, I didn't rate any books 1 star this year. I rated 8 books 2 star, 14 books were 3 star reads, 17 were 4 star reads, and 13 were 5 star reads. So on the whole, most of the books I read were 4 and 5 star reads, so I had a pretty good year. That works out to roughly about 1 5-star book a month, which made narrowing down my favorites for the 2025 difficult. When I picked my top 5, I realized they fell into 2 categories: books I completely lost myself in, and books that totally surprised me, books I never expected to hit me emotionally or take me on the ride that they did. So here are my 5 favorite books in 2025 in no particular order. A Certain Hunger by Chelsea G. Summers. This is told from the perspective of a female serial killer, and the narration is just gripping. It felt like pulling back the curtain on a mindset you rarely get to see explored this way. I'm not usually a horror reader, so this was a big surprise, and I still think about this character. Excalibur by Bernard Cornwell. This one was a no-brainer. The Winter King series is one of my favorite series of all time, and this book closes it out beautifully. The Bells by Richard Harville. This book has been sitting in my Barnes & Noble account for over 10 years, something I picked up cheaply and never touched. When I finally read it, it completely floored me. Emotionally powerful, beautifully written, and a huge surprise. The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. It's been a long time since I read a truly great full-length fairy tale. This isn't urban fantasy. It's not even fantasy in the modern sense. It's a straight-up fairy tale, poetically written with wonderful characters. I loved it. My fifth book was Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers by Jesse Q. Sutanto. This was another big surprise. I grew up loving TV detectives, Columbo, McMillan and Wife, McCloud, characters with big personalities. Vera Wong absolutely fit that tradition. She's memorable, funny, and surrounded by characters who actually feel like real people. I loved how much time the book spent developing them before solving the mystery. So those were my 5 favorite books of 2025. As I said, I read 52 books in total, and the full list with ratings will be linked in the description to my website for anyone interested. Here's just kind of the quick view of the books I read in 2025 with the ratings. But like I said, the full description will be static in my webpage if anybody's interested. As for my TBR, I plan that annually. I allow myself 6 wildcard books and unlimited sequels which don't count against the list. In 2025, I used 5 wildcards, including The Bells and The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and continued a few series I was already invested in. Looking ahead to 2026, my goals are simple. Read 24 books and create a TBR of 65 books, and here is my 2026 TBR. Now I'm going to go through this fast, but this will also be available on my website with the link in the description. And last is the books that I bought in 2025. This does not include books I got for free or books I borrowed. There's a link in the description that will take you to my website for a more detailed list that will show where I got them from, how much I paid, and if they have DRM or not. So that's my 2025 reading wrap up. What I read, how much I read, my favorite books, and what's coming next. I'm a numbers person. I love stats, lists, and tracking progress, but at the end of the day, I just read what I enjoy. This is Ofori, the digital reader, and keep reading.